I'll commence with an assertion that flies in the face of what you've been told by society ad nauseum. The left, the side that calls everyone else racist incessantly, they are actual racists. Racism is not just incidental to wokeism. It is one of its central pillars, and I mean to prove it. Ancient, abominable ideas, infected with ignorant animosities, have been exhumed by the Democrat Party and camouflaged as benign universal truths that have been systematically sewn into every corner of our culture, from airwave to internet, classroom to boardroom. In these videos, I mean to show you that in truth, no one cares less about black lives than millionaire aspartame activists, profane politicians, and mockingbird media stage performers with a knee on the ground and a fist in the air. When I look at a black man, I see a kindred soul. Kamala Harris sees a stepping stone, a mere means to an unrighteous end. Now, I understand that my contention that wokeism is inherently racist. I understand that this is inconsistent with conventional wisdom. But does history not teach us that the overwhelming majority of the population is often gravely mistaken? Examples: slavery, animal rights, women's suffrage, colonialism, child labor, etc., etc. So then why, if we admit that previous generations have been wrong about many things, okay, then why are we so quick to dismiss the possibility that the current majority could be equally misguided? To quote Walden Pond, every generation laughs at the old fashions, but follows religiously the new. The fact that my once mainstream opinions, the fact that they now may seem extreme, is evidence of how far our society has strayed from sanity. Public opinion has been pushed miles from reason, one subtle nudge at a time, so soft that we were unaware we were moving against our will. Closer and closer, this nation has been inched towards the murderous midnight of a brutalitarian bondage. So, why are most people utterly unaware that America has gone mad? Well, think about it. Movement perception is discerned from environmental relativity. If all of your reference points, your friends, social media, family, cable news, if all your reference points are also in movement, it may appear that you are static, like someone inside of a cruise ship. When the mockingbird media narrative and the ubiquitous views of everyone around you, when they all float in unison towards insanity, the one person anchored by sanity appears adrift and is rendered an outlier. In the longer video, I give an example of this, but basically what I'm saying is my assertions only appear radical because the collective conscience has drifted so incredibly far from common sense. Okay, so before we delve into examples of leftist bigotry, I'd like to briefly delineate my own position on the subject of racism, which you will find to be quite consistent with the philosophies of some of my own heroes, such as Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King Jr. Men who risked everything to fight for a colorblind future. So most of today's racism springs from one of two sources. Either a socialist scheme to divide and conquer, or the erroneous abortion of an idea that race fundamentally dictates traits and that for this reason, the way that you treat someone should be heavily influenced by the color of their skin. Treating people differently based on skin color. Who's that sound like? A belief that race is extremely important. Who's that sound like? You know, it is not hyperbole to aver that wokeism is textbook racism. But I categorically reject the notion that race is a primary determinant of attributes. And, you know, just like men like Martin Luther King Jr., I believe in judging people not by inherited immutable traits, but by their actions. So let's touch upon the issue of dealing with the aftermath of past racism. I actually support limited affirmative action so long as it empowers rather than encouraging addiction, and so long as it never crosses into systemic racism against whites, Asians, or any ethnicities. Now, I certainly recognize that racism of the past, such as redlining or employment discrimination, had ramifications that still adversely affect many ethnic minorities. However, the way to remedy a crime is not to commit that very same crime against different victims. I want to uplift all races and evolve into a colorblind society. The left endeavors to elevate some groups by dragging down others like lobsters in a cage, leaving all of us trapped in misery. Get it? Wokeism equals racism, just aimed at different people. You know, the left's approach is absolutely destined to perpetuate cycles of resentment and division, keeping the populace locked in a perpetual state of conflict. And that, my friends, the ceaseless stoking of racial discord, that has been their devilish design all along. The Marxist string pullers and the shadows know that their demented, diseased doctrine collapses beneath the weight of the slightest intellectual scrutiny. So they seek to consecrate it into something sacrosanct beyond the realm of debate by injecting their filthy fentanyl philosophies into the grievances of historically marginalized groups, which they use to bludgeon dissent with outlandish accusations of racism. They want the commoner's eyes too focused on the color of his neighbor's skin to see the crimes that are committed against them in broad daylight. They want us all too busy bickering over melanin and microaggressions to feel the soft yet steadily tightening touch of chains.